Hi, my name is Donna Gregorio, and I'm here today to talk to you about project management checklists. This is a new technique that I've tried recently on my projects and found it to be very successful because I'm able to minimize the complexity that's inherent in any project management activity by keeping a series of short checklists. Let's start by giving you an example with a story. We had a new employee named Rachel who started in our company a short time ago. She is an experienced project manager, but being new to the company, she was quite overwhelmed and really didn't know where to begin with her project management task. She spent her first few weeks at our company reviewing archived material and feeling overwhelmed. I was asked by my boss to provide some mentoring capability for her, to try to guide her and get her started. One of the ways I did that was by using my project management checklists. The goal was to try to get her on the job training right away and to help her minimize what the PMBOK presents, the project management body of knowledge, which can be overwhelming, and try to get her started on the right foot. My solution was to use the checklists, and they saved the day. Rachel was very happy to start out with the checklist, and she continues to use them to this day on her project. The way that I put these checklists together is by project phase. So each project phase has its own checklist. The goal is to keep the checklist short and repeatable and actionable tasks. There's a hidden knowledge from doing project management over a number of years that I have acquired, and I typically don't think to express that to people, and sometimes don't remember some of the different great tips that I had over the years. So writing them all down in a checklist is a great way for me to remember and to remind myself and others of the things that have worked for me. But how do you create a useful checklist, one that also is not overwhelming, yet provides enough compelling information to have people want to use them? And I do think that's really the key here to these checklists. What makes people want to use them, and how are they beneficial to a project management activity? Well, checklists are used in many, many fields. And if you want to learn more about checklists, you should read Atul Gawande's book called The Checklist Manifesto. That's actually the book that motivated me to put these checklists together in the first place. And the quote that's here listed is, "The value of medical checklists lies in their concise consolidation of a considerable body of knowledge into one simple document." The medical field is extremely reliant on these checklists. Atul Gawande, who is the author of that book, is a doctor, and most of his examples describe how checklists are used in a surgical capacity. But checklists are also used in aviation and very relied upon in that field, as well as restaurants and construction business, and also in facilities and safety rules. So checklists are used across the board in many different areas, so why not use them for project management? Now, if you Google project management checklists, you'll find lots of great examples, and this is just a few of them. But some of these examples suffer from some drawbacks. Most of them are really just lists on a piece of paper. And it's a table that you just go through and you check it off on your clipboard using a pen. And that doesn't give you possibly as much information as you might need. Now, this checklist in the upper right quadrant is very complicated and overwhelming in and of itself. Although it's quite useful, it's better than nothing. I think we could do better with some of our checklists by making them more specific to our project and more specific to our company, and not leaving them to be too generic, which is what this one really is. So what I have done is I've used a web tool to create my checklists. This is basically a templatized checklist that can be modified, that can be customized to use for your specific company and also for your specific project. The web tool automates the ability to drill down to get further details. Now, this is really the way that you can provide that complexity that is behind every project management activity without overwhelming the individual with a huge, long list. You're keeping the list short, you're keeping it actionable, you're making it specific to your organization. And the other benefit of a web tool is that you have the ability to look at it on your cell phone, which is great. And in fact, that's one of the ways that I used my checklist with Rachel when helping her with my mentoring on her project management activities. I pulled out my cell phone and showed her my checklist on the phone. So you also can modify the checklist to include items that management expects. So, for example, if you have a monthly work package review, or you have reports that you need to present, or you need an executive level presentation, those are the kinds of things that you can make specific in your checklist. So here's an example of a checklist that I put together. I used a tool called Trello. Trello.com is a free Kanban board capability, and what you're seeing here is Trello's version of my checklist. Each one of these items on this board is a card that can be dragged and dropped into different areas, just like in a Kanban situation, and each one of those cards can be drilled down into further detail. So you can add attachments to any one of these. You can share this board with other individuals on your team. You can copy and paste things directly. You can assign tasks to individuals that will send emails to them. You can assign these dates and set up a calendar within Trello. So lots of capabilities that Trello has. But really what I'm using it for are really three things. One is the Kanban board drag and drop capability. The second is the drill down capability. And the third one is the ability to check this on my cell phone, which is really a nice feature. So by having a checklist for each phase of the project, it really allows you to focus only on that area that you're looking at, that you're working on. So here's an example of the drill down that I've talked about. So this is the initiation and planning checklist. So in my organization, we have a document called an AMP document that stands for Accelerate My Project. It's basically a project plan, and it contains the kinds of things that you would expect to have in a project plan, including an executive summary, high-level milestones, in scope, out of scope, assumptions, issues, the team composition, and the various information security things that you need to keep in mind, and the benefits of the project, the value, the metrics, the risks, lots of the kinds of things that you would expect to be documenting during the project launch. So there's where I get my drill down details about what belongs in the project plan. Another example is your project infrastructure that you might need to set up for your particular organization. My company is very reliant on SharePoint, so each project has its own SharePoint site, which is used as a repository for documents. So prior to starting your project, you want to set up that SharePoint site, set up your folders, and get things in good shape. Another example of the number of meetings that you need to schedule. You'll have a kickoff meeting, maybe you'll have weekly status meetings, you want to have customer meetings, and these are some things that you would want to drill down to look at. What kinds of meetings might I need to set up for my project? This slide shows how you actually use this checklist. When I complete a particular item, do I check it off, or is there some mechanism for doing that? The way that I've done it is I use these colored labels, so you can see some of them are green, which means I've completed them. Some of them are yellow, which means they're in progress. And others are red, which means I haven't started them yet, but they are high priority. Another way you could do this is you could set up a new category called completed, and you could just drag those items that you've completed into that column. So there are a number of ways that you could actually use this checklist to make sure that you're being active and checking off items as you go through it. Now, Trello isn't the only checklist or to-do list Kanban board tool out there. There certainly are plenty others. And here are just two other examples, but there's lots of them. And again, the benefit of using a web tool is that it typically has a mobile capability, And also that drill down capability is really fantastic, allowing you to keep your checklist short. So in summary then, the project management checklist really summarizes and simplifies the process down into some easy to manage and actionable tasks that you can drill down to get further details. You have that capability on your cell phone. It's really a great capability and a great tool. It's been a tremendous help in my project and also in mentoring others with their projects. So I want to thank you very much for your attention today, and I hope that you've learned something and you'll take advantage of checklists in the future.